What up, tribe? It's your girl Raji, and I would like to welcome you to my podcast, The House of Kush, where the evolved hustlers come to learn more about root work, conjure, tarot, culture, astrology, and a little bit of everything in between. Today is Sunday, and the moon is waning in Cancer, and this is October, which is heavily focused on ancestral energy and really just tapping into your past to propel you to your future. Today, I felt like it was very important to reach into a space and discuss how we need to be very careful in terms of working with our ancestors, our elders, and the energy surrounding spiritual warfare or even sometimes physical warfare within your family unit. Okay, and then, of course, we'll also do a little bit of a collective reading as well. If you guys haven't already subscribed to my Patreon, this list in detail is on my Patreon, as well as any remedies in detail that you guys can jot down for future context. You may be wanting to use that in some of your practices this week if you are also enduring some of that energy and kind of combating that, because I often see a lot of posts surrounding, what we call being the chosen one, air quotes, or the black sheep, things of that nature, and how we navigate through those waters as we move towards embracing our gifts and our divine purpose in life. And it even has an effect when it comes to our love life. It has an effect when it comes to friendships. It has an effect when it comes to how, if you do have children, it has an effect on how you raise your children. Hell, it has an effect on your gifts and your career and what you choose to do. So when you get started this month and you're working on building an ancestral altar, or you reaching back and trying to figure out your history, trying to figure out your bloodline so that you can do more and be more, and sometimes we're met with open arms and sometimes we're met with resistance. If you guys got an opportunity to listen to a previous podcast that I did on my other podcast, The Kush Concierge, you know that I talk a lot about all skinfolk and kinfolk, and I mean that in terms of your ancestors as well. Just because a ancestor passed on to the spiritual realm, that does not mean that they deserve a space on your altar or that they want to see you maneuver and walk in this particular space. So you have to always make sure that you're calling on your elevated ancestors and the ones who are for your highest good, because too often, like I said, we jump into the idea this person passed away, this is my granddaddy or whatever, so let me put this person on my altar. They don't even want to see you do this shit, or their focus, if they was bad in the physical realm, if they was having challenging times in the physical realm, there can also be potential for them to still be that same way in the spirit, so you just have to be really, really careful about that type of stuff. Also, I talk a lot about my journey, with my own family and tapping into the fact that I was wanting to take my spiritual gifts and utilize them for, my evolved hustler space, where I was just okay, I'm going to use my spiritual gifts and I'm going to push forward with this. And I was met with a lot of resistance. I've been met with almost down to exile, if you really want to think about it. If I could put words to it. So, first things first, before I get all off into that, let me tap into this list real quick. We're gonna shoot down this list real quick to see, so if you find yourself experiencing any of this and, you would like more guidance, like I said, hit me up for personal readings, or, if you're a DIYer, again, my Patreon is available with resources and workings for you and herbal information as well. Okay. But yeah, let's kind of skim over this list. So, bloodline energies and spiritual attacks. Here are some signs and remedies, okay? Now, 10 signs that you might be. And these are just a general list. Everyone's experience is different. So, take it where it resonates, okay? One, you have a lot of sudden emotional disturbances until you start to interact with certain family members. And after that, you might feel like upset out of nowhere. You may have a fit of anxiety or rage. When I was dealing with my folks, like close quarters, when I was younger, I literally pulled out all of my lashes. I was probably 10, maybe younger. I had an issue with what they call it, picking with myself. I always had anxiety when I was dealing with them, and it was affecting me up until I started to just completely cut them off and not allow them. My family is very nitpicky. They comment on my skin, they comment on my weight, they comment on my hair, they comment on anything that they can think to nitpick. And it made me very anxious all the time. And this started when I was younger, up until probably about a year or two ago, when I just completely cut contact with them in its entirety. Did my nervous system start to regulate, and my skin started to heal, and my eyes started to completely heal. That anxiousness kind of went away from always feeling judged and under a microscope 24/7. I remember a point in time where I had went on this weight loss journey, and I lost weight. I got down, because I'm if you know me personally, you see me, I'm about 5'3" on a good day, 5'2". So I know I don't need a lot of weight on my frame in terms of being healthy. So I got down to probably about 135, 136, which is healthy for my body frame. I will never forget, I came home, and they'd always, like I said, they're very nitpicky and talk about you so badly. And they'd always talked about how I gained weight, and they were very judgmental. And I lost the weight, right? I thinned myself out, etc. And it was in a healthy way, you know what I'm saying? I did it all natural. I was on this, like I said, I was on this health thing. And I just wanted to be healthy for my weight. And, as we get older, whatever, I'm rambling now. But anyway, I got around them, and it went from being, you're too big, to you just let yourself get too little. You're too little. You went too far, etc., etc. And that's when I realized, nothing was ever going to be good enough for them. Absolutely nothing. Okay? So, yeah, that's just a little bit of a personal example. And every time, I deal with them, I find myself overthinking. I find myself procrastinating. If you get a C, you were in trouble, okay? You couldn't even make C's in my family. You would be in trouble, okay? To the point where I was faking report cards when I was in high school. So, I wouldn't have to endure, making a bad grade. It was just that serious. Now, mind you, we have very few early college graduates in my family. But it was always just this intensity towards perfection. If you know, you know. Number 2, repetitive conflict cycles. Arguments, betrayal, and drama repeating themselves no matter how much you try to shift the pattern. Like I said, that energy of just nothing ever being good enough. the family, like I said, my anxiety was high when I was younger. They used to fight a lot. Like, we would have Sunday dinner over my grandmother's house when I was younger, and it would always end in my mother leaving after some humongous argument, and we always had to leave early. And that was just consistent. It was completely consistent. Lots of gossiping, and within them, lots of drama, lots, again, intense betrayal over the years. And this is just something that they internalize. They think it's normal. And when you try to break out of that, they treat you like an outcast. Feeling drained or sick, physical exhaustion, headaches, nausea after contact. It signals some sort of psychic vampirism or energetic manipulation. There's lots of times that, like when you talk to someone and you don't quite feel like yourself, and this is not only with family, can be with, I was going to say allies, that's not an ally, like a friend or a frenemy or even a lover, but we talking about family today. Blessings stall. Your opportunities, your money, any spiritual work you're doing might backfire when you share it with certain relatives. I always say, like, I always feel like me and my mom, I can't, talk to her, because when I try to speak to her about certain things, it's like the struggle Olympics. And I don't know if y'all can know what I'm talking about, but it's like the struggle Olympics. I had to go through this, and it was 10 times harder for me. And this is not like a one and done. This is something that she does 24/7. It's never just a space where you can have a conversation and, a listening ear. It's the struggle. I call it the struggle Olympics. Who suffered more, who endured more, who had to, and it's quite a bit. And I guess that would even go back to feeling drained or sick almost. There are several instances where, I have been maneuvering. I would tell you, I try to give it to y'all 100. Okay. They'll swear that they don't work and do certain things spiritually, and that's for appearances. So I was working with Saint Expedite, which is a known saint. A lot of people in the spiritual community, you utilize this energy a lot. I was working with Saint Expedite, and I had great success. And I mentioned to her, that shit happened, and it was working. If I'm the type of person, if something works for me, I'll share it with people. I'll tell you about it. I'm not I don't gatekeep at all. I should gatekeep more, but I don't really gatekeep. If this is general information, I'm gonna give it to you. You know what I'm saying? Now my own personal grimoires, I keep it to myself. Long story short story long. I was working with Saint Expedite, and for some time after, I mentioned to her that energy. He wouldn't answer me for quite some. It took a long time for Saint Expedite to answer me after that. I picked up on that. I'm a very intuitive person. Lots of situations. When I was at the height of my career, and this might be a story I'm gonna save until after. Actually, I finished this list, because I'm gonna say that one. I'm gonna say that story. But anyway, yeah, your blessings stall when you share it with them. But like I said, I would share certain things and workings that I was doing, and after I shared that with them, all of a sudden I would have a bit of they didn't disconnect from me forever, but it was somewhat of a blockage after I mentioned certain things to them. Family mimics your energy. They copy your words, your style, your rituals, not out of admiration, but as energetic teether. I am notoriously the black sheep of my family for the most part. I have some other cousins that they at first were kind of leaning towards sovereignty, but now they're kind of walking the straight and narrow, so they're being embraced. But I'm Southern Baptist by ancestry. Like, that's how I was raised. I've been baptized in Southern Church in the choir, all that, and that's how they are. That's how we've been raised, so to speak. I have a little sister and I have some cousins, but this particular conversation is just to give. I'm gonna give y'all an example of each one to let y'all know this shit is real, okay? So my sister, she also does podcasting, and I've never had an issue. Like I said, I pour into people. I will help you. I will pour into you. I will love you. But I'm a very, like, what one consider a rebel. I don't like to I don't color inside the lines. I don't skirt. I'm very, I'm me for all it is. So I've been podcasting for quite some time, and a mixture of me being real and also inspirational has worked for me, and spiritual, right? Much like most things I do, my sister started to show an interest in this as well. And she has her own crowd. She has her own team. So I was always very, I was like, okay, cool. Until I realized that because she's more like Christian based, if you will, which no shade. She's more Christian based. I started to realize that she was taking my stories and my content, and she was repurposing it into her podcast and her post on social media. And I noticed that none of my family or the close associates of my family would like my stuff because I'm more spiritual. But the very same message, just repurposed for that, they were liking it. They were, and when it got to a point where it was just like, okay, like, these is my motherfucking this is my content, this is my messages. And I approached my mother, right? And I go, well, I understand inspiration, but at some point, why can't she tell her own stories? Because I'm the type of person, some people say I'm too open, but I'm going to tell you how it is, and I'm going to draw personal experiences to let you know it's real, right? So I'm like, these are her stories. This isn't her team. The only thing she's doing is adding Jesus and Christianity behind it, And I told my mother this, and she couldn't deny it, obviously. She couldn't deny it. And she goes, well, you should be happy that she wants to be like you, and she practically raised her, because my sister, like, she could have very well been my child. My mother had her when I was, coming up in high school. So a lot of my friends and my sisters are, like, the same age. Their kids are the same age as my sisters. And so, yeah, she goes off on this spiel about how I should be okay with it and yada, yada, yada. Not denying it, telling me, nah, you thinking too much into it, because she knows that I wasn't thinking too much into it. And, like that type of thing. And then my mother, she does the same shit. I feel like my family has an issue with the fact that they can't live out loud 100% in their spiritual gifts. And if you know me, this ain't my first time touching on this. Obviously, the Kush Concierge podcast, I touch on this quite a bit as I went through my spiritual journey. But they have an issue with living out loud. They have an issue with being themselves teetotal, because they have shame around their spiritual gifts. They have shame around their stories. And I'm empathetic towards that to a certain degree. And at a certain point, it becomes, like this says, family mimicking your energy, copying your style, your rituals, teethering to you. And at some point, I did have to cut contact. I did have to cut access, not because I didn't love them, but because they were skipping their journey, feeding off of my content, feeding off of my work. And I had to cut content. So a lot of them are blocked, and they can't see my content. They can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, they can't. And for a while, I noticed, I'm like, damn, you got no stories. You got no content. You got nothing to say. And you can always tell when they're watching, because their content starts to maneuver in a certain type of way, from complete silence to now you're motivated, but not motivated by your own stories, not motivated by your own journey, motivated by picking up on what I'm doing. And these are very real circumstances. Like I said, I gotta keep it 100 with y'all, so y'all know that this shit is real. Number 6, disturbing dreams or visitation. Bruh, if I can go down the whole damn list with an example. Dreams of family members attacking, watching, or arguing, maybe spirits alerting you to hidden interference. I don't know, that might be a little bit too personal to share, but yes, it is. It's very, she's very intuitive, and she has intervened. She has come, and negative things have happened the very next day. So I had to start to ward my space. I had to start to protect myself in dreams, cover my head when I sleep, do certain things. Spirituality saved my life. Doing witchcraft, doing hoodoo, I don't practice voodoo, but I do practice hoodoo. I do practice rework and conjure energy. Hey, it's interchangeable depending on your title, so take it where it resonates. But yes, I have had certain things happen to me, and I was on the path to being able to have a breakthrough with certain things I was working on spiritually or with my workings, and she would appear, and then the next day, like, shit would go left. I don't want to get too deeply off into that story just yet. Maybe one day, just not today. Random chaos in your environment, candles flickering, mirrors cracking, electronics malfunctioning, especially after family interactions. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. Feeling monitored, a sense that your thoughts, actions, or energy isn't private. Facts. Isolation, discredit campaigns. Your family members may subtly turn others against you to weaken your support system. Yes, very much so. Number 10, manifestation or protection reversals. Your candles have extreme amount of dark suit, black. To be specific, your rituals stall, your blessings are delayed as a clear sign of energetic interference. Like, I will always feel like when people aren't comfortable with themselves, they project a lot. When they're not comfortable with their own stories, they project on you. And she's this thing that she says, and it used to drive me fucking nuts. She would say, if I would post something, right, on social media, like, she would be like, keep it classy. And I would always be like, no, I'm not going to keep it classy. I'm going to keep it real. And so we clash, like, quite a bit on those types of things, because she's been able to successfully mold my siblings into being this penny perfect type of energy. And on the back end, they do what the fuck they want to do. I'm going to keep it real. But on the front end, they do what my family wants them to do, and I'm not like that. Like, I'm not, obviously, if you follow me on social media, I'm not like ratchet or whatever. But if I want to curse, if I want to say some shit, if I want to post something I feel like it's funny, tongue in cheek. I'm very tongue in cheek. I don't hold back to that. I have no image to uphold for them, and I phased out of that. I'm not a member of a sorority, and that's like a big deal for my folks. Like sororities being like Eastern Stars and Masons, and like that's like they're all like picture perfect, and I'm not like that. So I feel like I threaten the agenda, like I threaten the family image, if you will. Now, on Patreon, I do have a list of remedies that you guys, for each particular thing, I have a list of remedies that you can utilize to counteract those particular attacks, things that I've also used for myself as I've gone along this journey. I've always been spiritual. I did not get into these like head first, but we have always been a spiritual family, but like just like with being Catholic, how certain saints and rituals and things were synchronized into the traditional religion. That's kind of how my folks are. That's kind of how we be. However, the gifts of sight, the gifts of dreaming, the gifts of being able to know when someone's going to pass away, which is not one of my favorite gifts, but it's one that we have. Different things like that. But I feel like fear of being ostracized, fear of being seen differently is like holding them back. And I come in just big and bold, and I am a threat to that program. Now, I've always been somewhat of the wild child of the crew, but I colored the side of the lines for as long as I could stomach it. I got married very young. I went to college. I did what I was supposed to do according to them for the most part. There came a time where I was in the beauty industry, which I was successful. I feel like I was successful because I didn't have to work a 9 to 5. No shade to the 9 to 5ers, but I saw success because I felt like I could support my kids. I could support myself with my business. And I had moved to the point of even having employees at one point before, things went left. To no fault of my employees, just like I said, interference, and she just went left. But I dealt with a lot of jealousy. I dealt with a lot of envy, and blockages were thrown. And I started to go through my spiritual journey, and it was like I told y'all, it was mostly just like meditating, eating good. You know how we all start off. I was still heavily into my Bible. I was still watching TD Jakes at the time, watching church. I was still like fairly still in the rich, but you're in that in between space, and like that's where I was. And I feel like it was already some envy there because you don't have a lot of business owners in my family. Like, not a lot of entrepreneurs that actually, and this is not shade, it's just facts. They do normal stuff. They do normal shit. They go to college. They work in an industry for 30, 40 years. Nobody really steps out. You have a few now, but like nobody's really coloring outside the lines. And I feel like I was doing that. And I had a parent that she so desperately wanted that energy for herself, but somewhere along the lines, like, that shit just didn't pan out for her. And I feel like a lot of that darkness came from that, not being able to be free, not being able to like move around and do what you want to do, and feeling like you made certain sacrifices and for everyone else. And I feel like she took a lot of that out on me. But it was a very insidious moment for me because I feel like she pretended to understand me while also gossiping and talking about me and tearing me down in the background. So it's a lot of jealousy there. And I just, some things are her story to tell. Some things I feel like I do want to discuss because it is a part of my story. That's a podcast for another day. That's a Lilith's interlude, if you will. But on a grander scheme, in terms of family, like, I was in a space where I wasn't outright doing this, I was doing something normal, but I was still not doing what they wanted me to do or what they believed in or what they openly supported. And that's not a dig. If some family's lurking and you supported me, genuinely poured into me, then obviously I'm not speaking about you. So I went through my spiritual journey, and there was conflict. I don't even want to get into telling this whole story. Like I said, you want to hear that story, you're going to have to go back into my other podcast. But I'll give you the short version. I was living in Georgia, and I was coming up, and I was building myself up, staying with my uncle. I was a single mom, and, my uncle, he's well because he's retired from the military, and he has the resources to help. The home was big enough. He don't want no money for bills. You know what I'm saying? It was always just to get yourself together. And I've had other cousins cycle through his home and come to Georgia and build themselves up. But anyway, there was a conflict between me and one of the family friends, and during that period of time, I also had a cousin that I was very close to that I helped her build her business. We worked out together. We got healthy together, like thick as thieves, or so I thought. Anyway, during this time period of that particular episode that I was going through, I had no idea they was all gossiping behind my back. Then on top of that, Side note. My folks have a history of, if you're an outside thinker, if you get too deeply into spirituality, they will fucking commit you. They will commit the fuck out of you, okay? Like, I got one of them, like, JF Kennedy type of families. Like, they will fucking lobotomize your ass and pump you up and put your ass up, okay? And that's putting it mildly. So, but the truly insidious part of this is, I wasn't actually going through that as a result of being overly spiritual. I smoke. Y'all know I smoke, right? My blunt was laced. My blunt was laced by my cousin, whom I had been helping, and the family friend, as well as others, because I feel like they all knew. They all fucking knew. During this period of time, and it was like right around COVID. Like I said, I don't go too deeply off into the story, but as a result, I was almost initiated and forced into spirituality because I lost my business. Again, there are other steps to this. I'm giving the short version of this story, but I lost my business because they drugged me, and they took me to another state and left me there, and I had to be committed, and I survived the attack. Obviously, I'm here in my right mind. But yeah, I survived the attack, but it's like, I feel like there was a lack of care, a lack of not giving a fuck about me getting back on my feet, for real. A lot of envy just because they didn't really want to see me do what I was doing to the capacity that I was doing it. So a lot of things and support was pulled back. A lot of rumors, a lot of covering up, even though that situation is medically documented. A lot of people still dealt with those family members because those were the family members that was well off, like influencing the family. And I was basically ostracized because of it. And, it's still a lot. It's still quite a bit to deal with. because now I'm moving towards something, more spiritual. And I feel like what they meant for my bad, God really meant for my good. So I'm here doing something that I'm still passionate about, with my intentional beauty products and doing what I do with the apothecary and doing my readings, which I'm naturally gifted at. I love to read my cards. I love to talk to you guys. So I feel like, what they meant for bad, God meant for my good, like I said. But it was a very eye-opening experience. It's still eye-opening daily. It's still eye-opening. It's still crazy to watch them weaponize a situation like that against me, turn their backs on me, not deal with me. And people be like, oh, you just been too emotional. Okay. I was at home during a period in the family home, and my uncle that was a part of that situation where I was laced, right? And this was like not even a year or so ago. I had went home for a little bit. He visits, right? And my mom has this thing, right? If I'm at home, like, she will let everybody invade my space. Like, I'm a Capricorn moon, first of all, so I'm very private. I don't like to be fucking bothered. And I don't like a lot of people in my motherfucking business unless I put you in it. Now, what I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you. Now, don't get it twisted. But if I'm recovering and trying to get my shit together, like, I don't want to be put on display. And she has this thing, like, she has this kink where, like, she wants everybody to see, like, I'm in a space where I'm rehabilitating myself. So, anyway, my uncle came to visit, and he comes in the room and, like, he doesn't smoke now. He don't fucking smoke. He goes, smoke one. And I look at him and I said, no, I'm good. This is years after that shit went down, right? This is how insidious and fucked up they are. I look at him and I say, no, I'm good. And he laughs like some type of sick ass joke. So it's like they know what they're doing. Like, they know what they did. Mind you, all of the people that participated, they ostracized me. They don't want to fuck with me. They don't want to really help me. But, like, they all still live in that same house. They all still band up together. They still go out. Shit, after they had poisoned me, my sister had a graduation party, and everybody showed up to the house, like, the same fucking week that I gotten out of the hospital. Like, they did not give a shit that happened to me. It was, again, a very eye-opening experience, and it is heavily indicative of spiritual warfare in our family, because for some odd reason, like, the feminine energies that a lot of us deal with, like the mother wound, and I'm speaking on this because the moon is in Cancer today, y'all. Family, mother, and in the hoodoo deck, it's the father. I'm speaking on that shit because it is. And it may help somebody recognize what's going on around me. That situation, I could have lost my life. I could have lost my mind. They held me from medical care. They did not call the ambulance to come get me. My aunt drove me across state lines. She did not immediately take to the emergency room. Like, none of that went down like the way it was supposed to. They didn't follow protocol. Like, even when I was dropped off at home in Alabama, like, they still held me for hours because they had a cable appointment. Oh my God. And until to this day, the rumor is that I just went crazy. Meanwhile, my medical records say they fucking poisoned me. Like, and I laugh about it because it's just that fucking insane. You wouldn't believe it. And that's been weaponized against me in relationships with my children's fathers. It's been weaponized against me, just in life. Like I said, they gossip, they talk shit. It's been, she tells everybody, it's like, it's negative energy, and you absolutely have to cut it. Like, I don't have any ill will, for instance, like towards my little sister. I love her down, but I cannot co-sign to the dysfunction. And I feel like we never really, me and my sisters, we not going to be close, if ever, until the elders go about their business. And that's that's the kindest way I could put that shit. Like, until they pass on into the other realm. Like, I don't feel like me and my sister is going to be tight until my mother passes away. I'm just going to put it out there, like, on the table. Like, we're not going to be cool because she keeps shit going all the time. And she's built up this thing, this tension between us. So do I feel like we'll never, ever deal with, and not speaking on my sister, I'm not speaking on my mother, because to me, those deeds are done. But yeah, a lot of things, I don't know, y'all, like, some shit just for little interludes. Some shit's just for, like, certain little workshops, because it's such a deep wound. And when you are meant to carry the spiritual mantle, when you're meant to break generational curses, you will be attacked in ways that you cannot fathom. Like, so when I be having clients sometimes, and I be seeing in their cars and shit where shit can get real greasy if they don't release, it's hard for me to, like, go ahead with the bullshit, because I know it could get dark, it can get nasty, and, you know, I don't play like that. Because I've been through it. I know if you do not detach, shit will get crazy. And a lot of people hold on because it's like family. This my mom, this my dad, this my sister, this my brother. They will take your ass on up out of here, baby. They will take you on up out of here. I'm telling you, personal experience. They will get rid of your ass with the quickness. Just because you think differently. Just because you... And sometimes I be feeling like I had the realization that during our last interaction that I wasn't dealing with my mother anymore. I was dealing with the spirit. And when you come to that, like, realization, that's very jarring as well. Like, you're not you anymore. And that's kind of how I was able to move through that. 41 on the time stamp. I don't know why that was sufficient, you know, for somebody, just for somebody. It is grief, but every day it hurts a little less. But at the same token, when you are set to do a thing, your elevated ancestors will allow that chaos, they will allow that valley to come so that you can be like the change maker in your family, in your lineage. There has to be one. It's not the one, and if I honestly could say this, it's never the one that everybody kiss their ass, right? They love my sister down. She got mental syndrome. But anyway, because she do what everybody say do. Now, the younger one is more of a rebel, like moi. They say me and her are the most alike. But they love my sister and they support her down because she is the quintessential, you know, what they think someone should be doing. And I don't think it's her. I think it's them. Like, it's them. But, like I said, I just can't get with the bullshit, and I don't think we're gonna have any real peace until they go on to glory, unfortunately. But those are my thoughts. Those are my real raw thoughts. Like I said, as I was going through this, I was documenting on my other podcast, like some Dear Diary type shit, and that's how a lot of y'all met me. And yeah, you can go back and you can listen. And as we touch on certain astrological transits and certain time frames and workshops, I will share those stories within context. I just didn't want to make this podcast in a whole about them, you know. But I also am wise enough to know that in order for y'all to feel me, you feel me, you got to feel me. So I got to tell you the truth. And I'm telling you the truth. Sometimes you got to walk alone to go where you're going. because they just can't see it any other way. And you're going to waste a lot of time, 44:11 on the timestamp, trying to get them to see things your way, when you're supposed to be the change maker. And like I was saying before I went to ranting, a lot of times the change maker is not the person that everybody's rooting in. Hosanna, Hosanna. It's not usually that person. It's usually the oddball out. And that's not to toot my horn, because being the oddball out is, oh my God, it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling. But 44, I know that this is for a purpose. This is for a reason. And my stories help people. So, I'll take that. I'll take that journey. I'll take it. So I do want to pull cards, and I'm not sure if I should be doing a part 2 to see what the elevated ancestors want in terms of, and I might have to do a part 2 because this is getting lengthy. I try to keep it under 60 for real. But yeah, so I think that's what I'm gonna do, y'all. I'm gonna do a part 2, and I'm gonna do a reading for you guys for the week ahead. And more often than not, like, this podcast isn't to blast anybody. This is like for you to have some sort of comfort in knowing and feeling seen, like you're not alone. You're not going crazy, and yeah, this is more common than you would imagine. It's way more common than you think. And yeah, what that Rick Ross song is, nobody's favorite. You usually will build your tribe outside of your actual bloodline. Honestly, that's kind of how it goes. But yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I hope that these signs assisted you. Like I said, I always try to offer as well solutions, so you guys can jump on Patreon and look at the 10 remedies as well to reclaim your power. And I may even, given time, post some elevated rituals for the initiate, the conjure, and the high priestess levels as well. If you guys are needing a reading and you want to see more into context, I do have some family lineage readings that assist as well. So, click the link in my bio, book this, and we can see what's the purpose, what's the point, and also what's the solution. Okay? If this resonates in any shape, form, or fashion, or you feel like it might help somebody, make sure you follow, like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. You never know who it can help. And per usual, we go chat soon. Stay tuned for the week ahead reading. And thank you guys so much for your support over the years. And yeah, love you, mean it. Bye.